Hand and Machine is an exhibit that examines the intersection between craft and digital technology. Digital technology opens up a whole bunch of new possibilities that let you do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do with handwork alone. As these kind of technologies become more and more mainstream, these tools of industrial design that were generally used for industry are becoming more and more accessible and easier for craftspeople to get their hands on. The exhibitors in the show are attempting to marry traditional practices with these new kind of digital tools that are becoming available to craftspeople.
I think of Andy Brayman, who's one of the artists, and he's recording the movements of his hands digitally and allowing it to create a digital patterning on the surfaces of his work.
Philip Stearns is doing some very interesting things with binary data. He's taking that data and then translating it into an image and having that woven into some tapestries and blankets.
Hop Hop is collaborating with another Toronto artist, and they're working with 3D printed forms. They've created traditional Guatemalan garments that would normally just be a very simple woven structure, and they're incorporating a more sculptural element that uses 3D printing technology.
3D printing is an additive manufacturing process in which material is laid down layer by layer to create a 3D object without making a mold. You know, we don't really want to apply a new technique to something existing. I think when you have access to new technologies, the incentive is to innovate something that couldn't have been done before and do it in a totally new way. And there's probably whole new applications that we haven't even heard of.
Zachary Eastwood Bloom, he's from the UK. So Zachary's kind of take on combining hand and digital technology was interesting because he took these already existing pots that most people will recognize from their history textbooks and digitally scanned them and distorted those forms and then had them 3D printed.
Jonathan Sabine is a Toronto designer. He created a 3D printed form that's quite complex and then used sand casting in order to create an aluminum product. The end result is a cluster of 7 pendant lights that are hung in the gallery.
Unfold is a design studio based in Belgium, and for the show we have some of their teapots. The teapot that they have there is a representation of a teapot that was used when CAD packages were first being kind of developed as kind of a benchmarking tool. It's this faceted kind of shape. The reason the teapots are angular is because at the time the computers didn't have the computing power to kind of generate these smooth curves. But they've taken that original kind of computer model and then had a mold made, and it was slip cast by hand.
With T-shirt issue, they've created 10 T-shirts that all kind of come together differently. Each T-shirt has been laid out and dissected to create a one-cut pattern and then refolded almost like origami would be.
Shauna's doing some interesting work with 3D printing where she's printing these interlinking chains and combining it with traditional silversmithing.
With the 6 pieces that were chosen for this exhibition, Hand and Machine, they chose the pieces that combine the sterling silver and the alamide. If you don't know what alamide is, it is a 3D printed material that is made up of nylon and aluminum. The sterling silver, having it been cast, that is a very old technique, and the alamide, that is the process that I use for that, is SLS, which is called selective laser sintering. The beauty of it is that you can print things that are already linked together. I think that using technology in my work allows me to achieve much more complex pieces.
Joy Charbonneau and Derek McLeod are Toronto makers and designers. They're working together in order to create a tufted bench.
It's a tufted pattern similar to upholstery.
Each tufted bit of wood on the bench is a compound curve. There's no obvious way to make a shape like that using conventional woodworking machinery.
But to be honest, I don't think we would ever have the desire to produce a bench like this without access to today's machinery.
So it's hard to say what craft is nowadays. There were times when the potter's wheel was a huge technological advancement.
I define craft as the act of the making or the doing or the thinking. You're crafting something. So I guess it's your human interaction to the project, and it's the effort.
The hand and machine thing, like for me, my life is so machine. It's more machine than hand sometimes. And I think all of us are nostalgic for the hand part of the exhibit. And I think this show is like a reflection of how much we yearn for like hand-woven things from our grandmother, and how much we treasure that craft, and how much we love our iPhones. Like those two feelings that we have is kind of reflected here, I think.
I think that we need to incorporate these technologies into craft. If we close these new technologies off, craft is never going to evolve.
Craft is often seen as an aesthetic, and it's not an aesthetic. It's about the skills and processes and how people use them. So we're asking people and working with people who have gone out of their way to try new processes and new techniques and use that in a crafted way.